Nickelodeon.
From Nickelodeon Animation in Burbank, California, this is the Nickelodeon Animation Podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Hector Navarro. Welcome to the podcast. Our guest today is a director, producer, voice director, and the creator of Shimmer and Shine, Nickelodeon's animated series that's been a hit with the preschool crowd since 2015. She started her journey with Nick as an intern while she was in college, and over the last decade, she served as the post-production supervisor on a number of preschool shows, including Dora the Explorer, Go Diego Go, and Ni Hao, Kai-Lan. It's like I always say, if you have a czar-amazing opportunity to talk to Farnaz Esnaashari-Charmatz, you take it. Thank you so much for coming in today, Farnaz. This is awesome. This is going to be really exciting.
Thank
this is
you
so
for
cool.
having me. It's an honor.
I have heard from some of these guys here that you will be doing voice directing, and you will come straight from a run that you just went on. Is that true?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm going on a hike after this.
You're going on a hike after this?
That's my lunch break.
That's not
my reset.
That's your reset. It's not
That's
a
my
lunch.
reset,
How do you,
yeah.
First of all,
I'm actually already 6 miles in right now.
wait, what? To a hike?
No, I woke up at 3:30 this morning.
Get out.
I did about an hour on the stairs.
Wait. I'm sorry. You woke up at what time?
3:30 a.m.
Okay. I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast. That is disgusting to me. I'm like offended on your behalf.
Why? It's fantastic. It's my secret time that I steal away from the rest of the world just for me.
So I was about to ask you, how do you find the time? The answer is you have to wake up at 3:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the thing is, right? Life, everything you do is about sacrifice. If you want something, you have to sacrifice something. So you just make the choice. Is it worth the sacrifice? By the time I get here, like right now, I'm already 6 miles in. I've already burnt 1,200 calories.
Wow.
But I'm fully and completely energized. So
yeah,
the
obviously.
day is easy. But now, don't ask me to work past 7 because I'll start to fall asleep.
Oh my gosh. I think you and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are my motivating heroes now.
Your fitspiration?
You're my fitspirations. Thank you. You're my fitspiration, Farnaz. Next time I'm at the gym and I start getting tired, I'm gonna be like, no, nope. I have no excuse.
Nope, you gotta push through it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to talk about Shimmer and Shine. It's such a great show. There's so many great things I want to ask you about. But before we do all of that, I want to go all the way back. I want to start in the beginning. When did you, in your life, in your young life, decide, I want to be a storyteller?
For me, it wasn't so much deciding I wanted to be a storyteller. For me, it was about being creative.
Yeah.
So as far back as I can remember, I was always super creative kid. So, I remember my best friend, she was in the hospital getting her tonsils out. I think we were about 3. And I got out construction paper. I made her full 3-dimensional tulips with like little stems coming out of the inside, sprayed it with perfume, and I took her a bouquet in the hospital.
At 3 years old?
At 3 years old. And, I always loved being creative, being hands-on, like making stuff in that process. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of those things where it was like, I remember, again, at 3, I tried to draw, I know this is the competitor, but I tried to draw Mickey Mouse. Sure. And it was a horrible fail. Oh. Like, in my mind, at least. I don't know, maybe my mom thought it was good, but in my mind, it was a horrible fail.
Cut yourself some slack. You're 3 years old.
I know, but at that point, I was like, I'm not drawing Mickey anymore. If I can't make it look right, I'm not drawing Mickey anymore. I've always been like this. so I didn't draw Mickey Mouse until the 7th grade.
Wow.
And what happened was somebody got one of my mom's coworkers, I don't know why, but gave me one of these tiny little Disney like day-to-day calendars. Mm-hmm. And it had these images in this calendar were maybe 2 inches wide at the most. Tiny little scenes from the movies. Mm-hmm. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to try again. And my mom had bought me like a colored pencil set from like TJ Maxx, like some really like not nice colored pencils. Yeah. And I sat there and I started doing it. And it just clicked. And I started to understand. And then from there, I drew every single page in that calendar.
Wow.
And I covered the walls in my bedroom just from floor to ceiling, drawings. And I wouldn't stop. Like, it was like my favorite thing to do at that point. And then one day when the walls were covered, I looked around and I said to my mom, I think I was in the 9th grade at that point, I said, Mom, I want to draw on the walls. Is that okay? And she goes, sure. I go, I think I know what kind of paint to get. Let's go to Michael's. So she takes me to Michael's. She buys me all the supplies. And not only did I start drawing, I also started, like, I had like a full 4-foot Minnie Mouse with like eyelashes glued on. And I built her hat out of styrofoam. And like, I did the whole thing.
On your wall?
On my walls. My mom starts taking photographs of this stuff and shows it to coworkers.
Yeah.
And they start putting in requests. And so they start asking for things for their kids. And by 13, I start like making custom pieces for everybody. Like
charging them, I hope.
Charging them. So
awesome.
So I would do that plus like my other jobs. I had about 4 jobs at one point.
Wow.
Like I said, this is how I've always been. In high school, I finally got to start taking art classes. And on the weekends, I would take more classes and I would go take figure drawing.
Ooh.
15 doing figure drawing.
Wait, with like live models?
Yes.
Coming in?
Live nude.
Oh my
models.
gosh.
Scared the crap out of me the first time I
Wow.
sat down because I had no idea that's what it was.
I didn't have to do that until I went to, it was in college.
Well, I
yeah.
had to get parent permission.
Oh my gosh.
So I was sitting, I missed the first day of class. So I had no idea that's what it was. And I'm sitting on my horse and I'm sharpening my pencil. And all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, oh my God. And I just start looking around and I'm like, everybody's older than me.
Sure.
I'm the youngest one in the class. I'm like, nobody's reacting. Okay. So this is normal.
Oh my gosh.
Just start drawing what you see. So then in college I started taking more art courses and I went to a JC first. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I never really knew what I was going to do. I didn't.
But you wanted to be creative.
Yeah, I didn't even know what jobs there were in art, right?
I know.
So I went to talk to the counselor, and what I say about myself is I'm kind of like, I don't really make sense. I'm the most spontaneous planner you'll ever meet. So like I'll have like a life goal, but how I get there,
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever happens.
But you have a plan.
Yeah,
but then
I have
it's
a plan.
spontaneous up to that. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, I went to meet with the counselor and they're like, so, it's almost time for you to transfer. What do you want to do? And I said, I really like that movie, Toy Story. I want to learn how to do that.
Wow.
And they said, okay, I think that's called animation. So Cal State Fullerton has an animation program. I said, okay, then I'll go there. And that was it.
That's
like,
it.
That was it.
That's great.
I didn't apply anywhere else. Just applied to one school, and then I went.
It's worked out so far.
Yeah.
It's worked out. So when you were in college, how did you decide I'm going to try to get an internship at Nickelodeon?
My husband, he works here too, Charmatz. He got an internship but he was a semester ahead of me. So he had gotten an internship right before me here at Nick.
Cool.
And he was like the first Fullerton intern. And he kind of found his own way to getting it. And then he got hired to be the assistant, like production assistant for the events team. Mm-hmm. And, he would do tours and things like that, like 5 tours a day. Like back then we used to do a lot of tours. Mm-hmm. And then he slowly built the internship program here at Nickelodeon, him and Katie Fiedler. And he told me that it was time for internships and to apply.
Yeah.
So I sent in all my stuff. And then he's like, listen, I'm not going to have anything to do with you on this. Mm-hmm. You're going to go meet with Katie. So I come in for an interview. I go to meet with Katie, and never before and never again since, but for some reason the night before, I watched Shark Week. And so I go in, and I don't know how, but in this interview, we start talking about Shark Week. And
Wow.
this interview that's supposed to take 15 minutes took like an hour and a half because we like totally connected. We're like cracking up, having a great time. I walk out, and he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "It was good. It went good." So she passed me over to VP of post-production because I was taking an editing class at school, and I really liked it. So I was
Great.
like, you know what? Why don't I try for post? So I interview with him, and I got it.
At that point, was that when you decided I'm going to work in post? That's kind of going to be my path, or did that sort of come later?
Well, that was just something I was trying.
Yeah.
And I was actually the first ever post-production intern.
Awesome.
So
Thank you for paving the way for me. Thank you.
like, back then they didn't know what to do with me. So I recycled a lot of tapes.
Sure.
I sat in the machine room and made dubs. I actually, stripperella right there. I got put on that a lot because they didn't mind me on it. Yeah. So back then we were doing like partnerships with like the team who was doing Stripperella, Gary the Rat. So like those were all the ones that I kind of watched the process, and I got to go do all this stuff.
So cool.
And I remember the day that my internship was about to be over, I was in tears.
Oh, no.
And I was crying like an idiot. And I went to go meet with people, and I just said, listen, I absolutely have loved my time here.
Yeah.
I really want to come back. So if anything ever comes up, please keep me in mind. Thank you for everything, you know?
Awesome.
I went back to finish my last semester. And as soon as I graduated, I moved out of the house.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to go. Yeah. I'm going to work at Nickelodeon, so I have to go. She's like, okay. I'm like, I have to be closer. So I transferred. I worked at Bloomingdale's at the time. And I transferred locations and came out to the Bloomingdale's out here in Sherman Oaks. I moved in with my now husband, then boyfriend. And I... 2 weeks later, got hired as a production assistant.
No way.
On My Life as a Teenage Robot. So I got in, and I started doing that. It was my internship that got me hired because they went and asked my supervisor
of the internship part. Yeah, for sure.
And he said that he gave me like great recommendations, and they told me straight up, his recommendations are what got you the job.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you so much. So I was a production assistant for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I got offered a position as a post-production coordinator.
Is that common? That
No.
seems like it's rare.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, spontaneous planner, okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Here we go on the way together. We're ready to discover brand new things.
And in case people that are listening aren't aware, what does a production coordinator do? What were some of your responsibilities?
Because I didn't have a supervisor.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Party, no. So basically, you know, when the shows would come in from overseas, my job was to track all of the files that were coming in, log everything, get it to schedule the picture editor, schedule our retake director, schedule any facilities that we had to go to, schedule my After Effects person to like have enough time to do everything, manage and create the entire post-production schedule based off final delivery dates.
This is all you that you're doing this?
Yes. Because I didn't have a supervisor.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So yes. And then on Dora and Diego, it was very different because it was a very heavily researched show.
Yeah.
And we were still researching in post-production.
Really?
So, which is rare because it is more expensive and not always as doable. Like in a CG show, you can't really do research in post-production because there's only so many retakes and stuff you can call by the end.
Things are kind of locked in.
Yeah, but in a 2D show, you can.
Yeah.
So
what does that mean, research? Is it you're doing sort of like focus groups, test groups?
Yeah, they would do like focus groups, test groups with kids anywhere from the ages of 3 to 6.
Yeah.
And they break them up into groups. So like the 3 to 4-year-olds would be in one group, 4 to 5 in another, and then 5 to 6 in another. And for Dora, they actually used our final picture because we were doing testing and post-production, but they had various stages of research testing that happened even before it got to us. So by the time it got to us, we were on our third pass of research testing.
Wow.
So we would show them the picture, and then they would watch and they would track. Did the kids look away? They put toys out. Right? And then they wait to see,
diabolical.
Will the kids play with the toys or will they continue to watch? If the kids play with the toys, they mark it down and they know where are the kids losing interest. How many kids go away? Do they come back after they've been playing with the toys and go back and watch it again? So they mark all of this and kind of then they ask them questions after to see comprehension. Did they understand what they were watching? Did they like what they were watching? What was their favorite part? And then they'll rank that into a score. Mm-hmm. And depending on the score, if you got anything in the 90s, that means it did well. The kids understood it. If you got lower than that and you were like in, let's say 50s, that means that's a really bad episode.
Wow.
It's really not working. And in the case where if it came back low in post-production, we would gut it. And we would completely rebuild it in-house. We would get all of the files from overseas and just kind of rewrite it, redo. I mean, there were times sometimes we'd rewrite 3 pages of script in post.
Wow.
But that's where that show was very different than kind of some of the others now. Where normally in other shows that didn't happen in post-production.
That's incredible.
That was all still encompassed in the time you had to get it on air. Yeah.
It's amazing. I feel like people don't really know what goes into it, what went into those shows specifically, but what goes into
no idea because they think that the misconception a lot of times is that preschool is easy.
Yes.
But the simplest things are the hardest.
I know.
Because you have to make sure that it is all really working. And if it's not, that audience isn't as forgiving. Like the older audience, okay, they might not catch all of it or they catch some of it. They don't care. If it's funny, it's funny.
Sure.
The younger audience, if they don't get it, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're not going to watch it anymore. They're finished with it. If they don't understand it, they're gone.
Dora the Explorer! Dora!
How did you go from somebody who was kicking butt in post-production, doing this for years, to a show creator?
Well, I always say I got my education in preschool, right? Because I was working on some of the top preschool shows
of all time
in the industry,
of
not
all
even
time.
just
Yeah.
for Nick. Some of the top preschool shows,
That's right.
and we were doing testing in post-production. And
talk about we'll fix it in post. Holy crap.
Right? So I'm learning everything that I can, and and my brain tries to break things apart and understand it. So I'm trying to understand, why do they react to this? Why do they react to that? How are we fixing it to make it work better? So I'm getting an understanding and a knowledge without even trying to get it, just because it's my everyday. And you start to learn and you start to anticipate. You can watch an episode and be like, oh, they're not going to get that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not going to work. We're probably going to have to change these. I'm just going to request the files early because that's probably going to be a bad spot. So you start to learn that. And for me, so I had been a coordinator, I want to say 6, 7, maybe 8 years. I was a coordinator until 2008.
And then a post-production supervisor.
And then a supervisor. But from the minute I was a production assistant and they said, do you want to go into post? My head said, okay, but what happens after I get to supervisor? There's nowhere else to go in that position. What do I do after that?
That sounds exactly like something you would think.
Yeah. And because I'm also somebody who's very goal driven. So when I had first started interning, I always felt like I wanted to get in more executive roles where I could make decisions without being the one doing the drawing, without being the one having to do the artwork.
Producers
I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And sometimes people will put labels on you and decide that you belong in certain boxes.
Yes.
That and not want you to come out of those boxes.
Yeah.
And especially if you're good at what you do, they want to keep you doing it.
We need you there. But we need, to keep this thing going, we need you there. Sure.
Yes.
I get it.
So I am a very...
Let me guess. When somebody says, hey, you can't do this,
yes.
you go... Oh, no.
Yes. What did you say?
I'm sorry. No. Now I'm going to do exactly that.
Exactly. So in 2006, I was told I could not be a supervisor for some really not okay reasons.
And
so
then, boom.
I decided that, I will show you that I am worth more than a coordinator. I will create my own show and then you can't stop me.
It's getting away. Gotta catch it. Starting up the chase. Oh no, don't wait. Gonna speed up. Zoom out of the gate.
So tell me how you ended up pitching Shimmer and Shine.
I ended up getting married, having my first child, and I was on maternity leave.
Congratulations. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
I was on maternity leave, and Nick Jr. sent out like a flyer, and it was like, come pitch us your ideas. And I remember I called my husband. He was here at Nick. I called him. I'm like, we have to go pitch. And he's like, we don't have an idea. So who cares? We'll come up with something. How hard can it be? We'll come up with an idea. We have to pitch. This is like our shot. And so we go in to pitch, and right before we walk in, Butch Hartman walks out. And I just about melted. I was like, no.
Butch.
No. We're going in after Butch Hartman. We're so screwed.
That is hilarious. What a great compliment to Butch. I mean, he's cartoon royalty. Sure, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's intimidating, And my husband's like, don't worry about it. You just go in there. We're going to go in with confidence.
He's just a man. He's just a man.
Just a person, a human being,
That's
right?
it.
So we go in, we pitch. Now we walk in.
Yeah.
And I was so lucky because we walk in and guess who the new development executive and managers are? It is the people that I have been working with the last 2 years on Ni Hao, Kai-Lan. And I look at them, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Hi.
So we already know each other.
Great.
We already know how to work with each other. We already know we can work well together, which is like half the battle, right? So we pitch and they're like, listen, they contact us a few days later. They're like, we didn't really want your idea, but we liked kind of what you were thinking, and we'd like to see if you would be interested in doing the creative assignment. So
what's the creative assignment? What's that?
I don't know if they still do it this way because it's been a few years since I've pitched, but the way that it used to work was that, they'd have kind of like an idea what they're looking for, whether it be like a show about literacy or a show about vehicles or whatever it may be. They'll say, hey, we're looking for a show about X, Y, and Z. Pitch us your ideas. So that's the creative assignment. Now, there were over 500 people who went in and pitched off of that flyer.
Yeah.
They narrowed us down to 5.
That's amazing.
So the 5 of us got to go and do the creative assignments. I was the post-production supervisor on 1, 2, and maybe even 3 of the 5 assignments, which was very awkward.
So the creative assignment is you guys went and did like a pilot? Is that kind of how
everybody kind of got different things. So like the way that it worked was you pitch some ideas. They go, maybe this, maybe not that. We like this element of this and that like element of that.
So yeah.
Try to rework it. So you rework it, and like I think where it started was like we pitched maybe like 5 or 6 different show ideas, just little blurbs, right? And they go, okay, we like numbers 2, 3, and 5. Flesh those out to like a paragraph, right? You do your paragraph. They then take it to the teams, and then they come back and go, if you make it, because I always say it's like the American Idols of like development, right? If you make it out of that phase, then they say, okay, we all really liked number 3 or whatever it was. So we want to bring you on to do a mini Bible. So we're going to give you, like, you've made it to the next round.
Yeah.
So you put together the mini Bible. Depending on what your strengths are, your weaknesses, what you say you want. If you say, I want a writer, they'll hire a writer. If you say, I want an artist, they'll hire an artist, whatever, And so you'll put together character descriptions, episode ideas, and like a script, right? You'll do like 1 11-minute script or something like that. Then all the people who are doing that, so that the 5 people, those all get taken back in, and they do it it's kind of like by committee.
Yeah.
They share it with a bunch of different lines of business, and they all kind of weigh in on what seems like it's the best fit for the company and the company strategy.
Wow. And are one of those lines of business like merchandising and toys?
I believe so, yes.
Wow.
So they'll do that, and then they'll come back and then they'll narrow it down even more. So from the 5, you may become 3. and maybe one of them gets to go to pilot, one goes to animatic, and one goes to like something else.
And
right?
you were the post supervisor on these various projects.
Yes.
So you're working on your thing, and you're like, also, I'm going to help you finish your thing.
Yeah.
But really, I want it to be my thing.
Yeah. But it was, yes.
Shimmer and shine on a magical ride.
So where did the idea for Shimmer and Shine come from? How did that develop?
So Shimmer was, I always say Shimmer was originally born in 2010, but her name was Mia, and she granted wishes for Zach. And it was back when we were doing the literacy curriculum. And so the way that it worked was that she could only grant the wish if you could spell the thing that you were wishing for. So if it was like, big balloon, you had to spell the word big. And she had like a little bag that the letters would come out of.
That's a really great idea, actually. That's really cute. Yeah.
Thanks. I remember when we turned her in, I said to my husband, I said, they're going to want her. I know it. I know they're going to want her. And we turned it in. We didn't hear anything back. And, they asked us to do the next creative assignment. We're like, we're a little burnout. Like, we need just a second,
Sure.
And we didn't hear anything back. But I never really felt like it was gone. I had a feeling something was going to happen. I just didn't know what.
I love your intuition, Farnaz. It is like...
It guides me.
It has guided you through your whole life.
It drives people crazy because they don't know how to, it's not tangible.
Sure. Yeah.
But I follow it.
Yeah, it's there. So to you, it never went away.
It never went away.
And then what happened?
And so a year goes by. I have now gone up, introduced myself to Dave Palmer, said, hi, my name's Farnaz. I'm going to be your post soup, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Getting ready to okay, they've picked this one up. We're not doing it,
Yeah.
And we get a phone call. And they're like, hey, you remember that design you guys did with that genie? We're like, yeah. They're like, well, we love the design. We want you to do this new thing that you're going to be the first ones to do it. And we're like, okay, what is it? We're going to have you kind of work with International and take that design and pitch new show ideas. Throw away everything you did.
Wow.
And pitch new show ideas with that design. So, we and they were working with us too. And that went pretty much through 2012. That was about a year.
Yeah.
Of back and forth pitching between London, New York, and LA time zones, trying to all get on the phone at the same time. And, it didn't quite work out the way that we had wanted it to work out. And they flew me out to go work with this team in New York. And I went into the office and listen, we need to talk. I'm like, okay. They're like, Seema saw the designs for Shimmer and she loves it. And, we want to bring it back here to the US. Throw away all of the things that you've pitched and start again.
Now, at this point, is Mia now Shimmer or?
Not yet.
She's still Mia?
She's still Mia.
Okay, great.
But
it's moving. It's going.
Your due date's still the same.
Oh, my gosh.
So there was about a month and a half left out of this whole year. And I was like, wait, it's still the same due date? And you want all...
Like a show?
I'm like, and you want all the same materials? They're like, well, do what you can. I'm like... Ugh. Okay.
It seems like a nervous laugh, like a stressful laugh.
Yeah, it was a very stressful time.
Oh, man.
And, at the time, my husband had just gotten a pilot picked up at Disney. And he's like, listen, this is going to take all of my focus. I need to put my focus in that. I'm out. And I was like, okay. And at the time, I was so insecure about it because he worked on SpongeBob. He was the funny guy, you know? And I was telling him, they're not going to want me without you. And so I went for it and I only had X amount of weeks left.
Wow.
And, it was really difficult, but really amazing because like I said before, my brain, it has to break things apart and put it back together. Yeah. So one day I realized what I was doing wrong. And once it clicked, it clicked. So what would happen is I would get notes and I would do exactly the notes.
And that's what you were doing wrong?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
You should not do exactly the notes. When I learned how to take a step back from it, disconnect myself from the project and try to understand, okay, something is wrong here.
Yes.
What is it that's bothering them? Because the solution that is being given may not be the best solution. It's just a solution.
Right.
So what's really the problem here? And then when I started to kind of think that way, I was able to strip down the idea, simplify it to its core, and find what it was that they were actually responding to. And once I could do that, then everything kind of just took off. And before it ever got picked up, before any of that, I remember I said to my husband, I said, Sean, something big is about to happen. I can feel it. I feel it with every bone in my body. My entire life is about to change. And he's like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Don't get your hopes up. I go, I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah.
I know for a fact the show's getting picked up. I feel it. So I turned it in. I had turned it in 2 days before. I had been in the hospital that day. I had like a procedure done, and I'm in the hospital bed. I've literally woken up from surgery, and I'm on the phone with them. I'm like groggy out of my brain. I'm like, hi. And they're like, we need you to start researching this, reference this, think about writers. Wait,
does that mean it got picked up?
No.
Oh,
and
God.
I'm like,
this is a roller coaster.
All right. Yes, absolutely. So like in the hospital bed, I start working.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I got to figure it out. I'm not going to have that much time. I got to figure this out. So I start doing it, and within months it became, you're going to go to pilot now, and we're going to do an 11-minute, and it was like fast. Once it hit fast. We went to series production pickup before the pilot had even shipped to overseas. That doesn't happen.
Wow.
So we went into full production we got our writing pickup, I believe, in November, full production January 2013.
Have you had a second to breathe and step back and go, this is what the show is, this is the impact it's having, this is what, this...
It's crazy because, when you come to work, you're doing your job.
You're in the trenches.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not really thinking about it like that.
Yeah.
But then I get to do stuff sometimes that's so outside of the ordinary. Mm-hmm. And that's when it really hits me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy cow. Yeah. So one of the really cool moments was I got to be a part of designing the character Walkarounds.
Cool.
And they do it actually right here down the street, walking distance.
Yeah.
This place is amazing. They do every character walk around there is.
Yeah.
But I got to design the character Walkarounds, and then they shipped them off last year to New York for it was during New York Toy Fair, but it was like a special kid division of it. So it was open to the public.
Interesting.
Kids
Okay.
were all coming in to see it.
Okay.
And the Walkarounds got shipped straight there, and that was the first time they'd ever made an appearance.
They've made an appearance. And in case people don't know, what is a walkaround?
It's like a mascot.
Yeah.
Right? So when you go to Disneyland and you see the costumed characters,
the walkaround.
That's the
yeah.
walkaround.
The costumed. Oh, and this must be right up your alley. I mean.
Yes, when I was going there to make it, I'm like, what fabric are you going to use for this? Yeah. How are you stitching that? They're like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm serious. Really serious.
It has to be perfect. Every little detail. That's so cool.
And so I had told them out here in Glendale multiple times, I'm like, because they're made for a certain height. I'm like, do you think maybe someone 4'11" can get them? And they're like,
that's an odd. Why 4'11"?
They're like, you don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I kind of do. And they're like, no, it's so difficult. You don't want to be in there. And I'm like, I don't understand. Why do people think I'm kidding?
You're a creator. You don't have to worry about that.
So we get there, and I see the Walkarounds, and I asked this lady, I was like, oh my gosh, can I go in one? And she was like...
First of all, was she like, who are you? And then you'd be like, I'm the creator.
Had to be like, this is the creator.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, okay. And then she was like, are you serious? I'm like, I am dead serious. Here's my business card. My cell phone's on it. You text me if there's an opportunity. I'm going to be upstairs on the other side. And she was just looking at me like, what the heck?
I will leave a meeting to run over here.
I did. She sent me a text, and I'm like, we gotta go. And I start sprinting over. I'm like, hi, I'm here. Is it time?
This is the moment you've been waiting for your whole life.
So we get in this, it takes 40 minutes to strap you in, strap you down. You've got a big metal harness around your chest. It is really intense. It's pushing on your lungs. You can't breathe, and you're inside in the dark. You can't see. So it was this mental game you had to play not to panic.
Yeah.
Not to
Are you claustrophobic at all?
I didn't think I was until I couldn't breathe. But once I got in there, because they kept going, squeeze my hand if you need to get out.
Sure.
Right? But once I got in there, I was like, mind over matter, figure it out. Because you could see the kids and their excitement and like how amazed they were by getting to meet Shimmer and Shine.
Oh my gosh.
And you're posing with them. You're like, they're like crying, they're hugging you. And it was unreal. Like, I will never forget that moment.
Wow.
And
that's first of all, that's so rare because to the kids, that's Shimmer and Shine, obviously.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's them professing their love of these characters, like to you, the creator.
And no one knew who's in there,
Of
because
course.
it's Shimmer and Shine.
Of course, yeah.
But like, the parents were like hashtagging it after, and I'm like,
make
oh my
me
gosh,
cry.
that's me.
You're gonna make me cry, Farnaz. That's so cool. That's so cool.
It was amazing.
Your story has been fantastic and inspiring, and you are my fitspiration, but also just like career-wise and not just working out, everything else. You're my
Thank you.
fitspiration. It is so cool. Season 2 of Shimmer and Shine is like wrapping up right now, and you're working on season 3.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you
awesome.
very
Can you
much.
tell us anything about season 3? Anything that you can reveal?
I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to
Okay,
say, but what
all right.
I can say is that you thought you knew Zarme Falls.
Oh.
But now
What?
you're going to learn even more and see some new places that you didn't even know existed.
I bet it's going to be Zara amazing. I bet.
It totally is. Zaratastic even.
Zaratastic. One would say Zaratastic. Oh my gosh. Farnaz, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank
this was
you very
so
much.
fun and so fantastic. And thank you for being an inspiration to so many people working in this industry. And really hope we get to talk to you again. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
This was
Thank
great.
you for your time, and congratulations to you. You started as an intern too. And
Hey,
look at you now.
we did it. Interns.
We did it.
Well, that was our conversation with Farnaz Esnaashari-Charmatz. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed having the conversation with her. She's my fitspiration, and it was so cool talking to her. You're not going to want to miss an episode of the Nickelodeon Animation Podcast, so please come back, visit us next week on nickanimationpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts for more episodes and tons of bonus content. Thanks to the awesome crew who puts this podcast together. This podcast is produced by
Jonathan Highlander,
Dana Vasquez-Eberhardt, Kelly Smith,
Andrew Hubner,
original music by Useful Creatures. This week's episode edited by
Josh Caldwell,
Jonathan Highlander,
all of the incredible social media for our podcast is made by
Narbe Manassians,
Sammy Armiger,
David Watson,
and thanks to the man who works the controls and makes me sound better than I have a right to,
Manny Gralva.
Until next time, thanks for listening to the Nickelodeon Animation Podcast and keep watching cartoons.